many of you are fired up to talk about money for 2 hours? Yes! So just so you know, the answers tonight to all of my questions are either yes or Jesus. Okay, sometimes yes, Jesus. Okay, but we're going to have fun tonight. This is, Pastor Ryan's so right. The church, I believe, for a long time has missed it when it comes to this topic. And they drive to the tithe versus, hey, what's your next step? I'm with Pastor Ryan. I believe in the tithe. I think it's a biblical model. But for somebody who's not giving, for somebody who's struggling mightily to make ends meet, their next step may just be to start giving. Get on the journey. Get on the track. And then watch God do what only He can do to free up, because of your obedience, more resources so that you can get to a tithe. And ultimately, the goal is to get beyond that. We were meeting yesterday morning with a group of financial coaches, and some of you might have signed up to meet with a coach, and we'll get you paired up with them. But as we were talking with some of the coaches, one of the things we talked about was just the simple fact that it is a step-by-step process. All of you are at a different place on your journey. You're at a different place than I am. And so what we're going to do tonight is we're going to get really practical. We're going to talk through some strategy. We're going to talk to people who have, maybe you have your financial house in order. What's my next step? We're going to talk about some principles as it relates to that. We're going to get into compound interest. How many of you know the power of compound interest? It is powerful. It is powerful if you're experiencing it, and it is also powerful in a different way if you're not experiencing it. And we'll talk about that. So let me pray for us, and then we will dive in this evening. God, thank you for tonight. Thanks for this group of people and their desire to take their next step. I don't know what that is. You do. And so they may not even know what their next step is. But through tonight, I pray that people are encouraged, that people are challenged to take their next step in this stewardship and generosity process. We're grateful again that you've brought us all here safely. For those still making their way here, provide them the same. We love you. We're grateful for your love for each one of us. It's in Jesus' name that I pray. Amen. Awesome. So I want to start with why I do this. Okay? So I showed you my family this morning. We have one more here. This lovely young lady here. This guy thinks that she's the one. I like her more than I like him. So I'm hoping that she is the one. Don't screw it up. Okay? But that's Peyton, that's Bella, there I am, that's my wife, Tammy, that's Ava, Sierra, and Nolan, and that's from our little beach trip last year. But I do this because they allow me to do this. To be honest with you, I love to brag on this one right here. Been married to her for 27 years. She was my high school sweetheart. She had no idea. I won. She is amazing. She's a preacher's kid, so she understands just the ins and outs of ministry and the pull of time. And I'm on the road about 210 days a year. And I can do that because I know that she has home on lock. I mean, we are aligned in how we want to raise our children. And Sierra and Peyton are absolute testimonies to my wife's just being incredible at raising our children. I've been a part of it, don't get me wrong, but she has been in the trenches with them for 17 years. I've been doing this for 17 years. And again, this is not my primary responsibility. I'm the vice president of consulting for Injoy Stewardship, so I consult churches on capital campaigns, but I love getting to do this as well. And she is the reason I can get on an airplane and fly away from home as much as I do, because I know that she has it on lock. So that's Tammy. She's amazing. Hopefully one day you'll get to meet her. I don't know, but you'll be better if you do. So let's go ahead and dive in. And just if you want to scan this QR code, that'll take you to a bunch of free resources. Our website, iwbnin.com, which is on the back of your little booklet there, has over 100 free resources. I emphasize free resources. Get out of your way. You can download them 100 times each if you want. They're free. We're going to go through some of those resources tonight and actually show you how to use them and what they actually do as it relates to calculating not only your budget, but casting some vision for you and your family, telling you how much you need at retirement to be able to live on a certain amount of money, how much you need to save, all kinds of investing tools. But please avail yourself to those tools as you see fit. That's what they're there for. So open up your book. There's some fill in the blanks. And we are going to start with the fill in the blanks. And the first fill in the blank is, as we walk through this process, there is power in working together. There is power in working together. I told the team yesterday morning, Tammy and I, we try about 10 days before every month to sit down and put together our budget for the next month. And we've been doing that since about 2011. And we've very, very rarely have we missed a month. Sometimes it'll be within 5 days, and sometimes it'll be on the first day of the month. But usually our goal is within 10 days. But we have learned that there is power in working together. If you are the spender, raise your hand. Oh, Lord. Oh, boy. Oh, yeah. Yeah, me too. I told the team yesterday, I'm known to go to lunch and buy a truck. So get fired up about that. I'm going to assume you guys belong to each other. They both raised their hand. What's your last name? Stippert? Pray for them. Okay? I'm kidding. So if you're the saver, raise your hand. Or the non-spender. I love it. Back here. She points at him. You're the non-spender. That's awesome. But do this together. Sit down together. Put your budget together. Okay? Because here's what will happen. If you don't, the spender will not put together a budget. The saver or the non-spender will put together the budget. They'll present the budget with excitement and passion. They will love the budget that they just put together. And they'll put it in front of the spender, and they'll be like, $72.75 for groceries for the month. That's awesome. That's terrible. Okay? Power in working together because you bring both perspectives to the table. So that's really, really important. Okay? Next, avoid the debt trap. Avoid the debt trap. I said this morning, and I believe this, we as an organization believe this, is that debt in and of itself is not evil. Being a slave to debt absolutely is evil. So if your debt is growing faster than you can pay it off, that's a problem. And when I say avoid the debt trap, it's easy when you're facing a major transaction to say, hey, you know what? Let's just throw this on the credit card so that we can get it taken care of. And we'll pay for it eventually, like a vacation, right? Like a major purchase that we need. Now, I understand emergencies happen, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But don't just drive to the credit card because there's available credit there. Because usually, on average, if you do that, it will cost you 25% more than if you just save for it, which might take you an extra 4 to 6 months to get it with cash and pay for it and then not follow you home on a credit card bill. So do you understand what I just said there? If you put it on a credit card, because of interest, it's going to cost you on average 25% more than what you paid for it. Okay? So if it's $1,000, it will probably actually cost you $1,250 by the time you get it paid off, if you're diligent. If you're not diligent, you're in the trap, and it's going to own you. And I'm telling you, I've been there. I'll tell you a little bit about my story later. It's not fun, okay? Develop a plan. Develop a plan for your life. In the context of this conversation tonight, for a lot of you, a plan is a budget or a written spending plan. Some of you are beyond that, and we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. What do you do if you're kind of beyond that? Tammy and I don't have to budget. I can't imagine not budgeting. Because one of the things that we budget for is, we have a line item in our budget just simply titled Bless Back. And I was talking to Doug back here a little bit earlier, and he said to me, he goes, I'm at a place in my life where I get to wake up and actually think about who can I bless today. We all want to be there. And I'm telling you, the example that you provide when you're able to do that for people around you, sometimes you have no idea the impact. Several years ago, my son and I were at Walmart, and there was a lady in front of us, and she was having to put back a lot of things because she had overspent her EBT, her welfare. And God just hit me, and he said, pay for it. And so I said to the cashier, I said, put it all back. I want to pay for hers and pay for mine. And of course, they were like, thank you, thank you, thank you. My son's sitting there watching the whole thing. This was probably 10 years ago. He's 22 now. He still talks about that. It had a bigger impact on him than it had on me, the lady, or the cashier. It's generational. And so he'll remember that. So again, develop a plan for your life. This creates the reason for you to plan your finances. How many of you want to go on a really nice vacation? Yeah, we all probably need to raise our hand, right? If you could go anywhere on vacation, she's not even paying attention to me. That's awesome. Where would you go?
I would go to
Florida. How much would it cost you to go to Florida?
well, it depends on how long I stay.
There you go. Okay. Somebody at this table back here, where do you want to go on vacation?
We just came back from Pigeon Forge last Sunday.
Love Pigeon Forge. And it is expensive. Like the minute you drive into Pigeon Forge, you hear this, and it's just dollars, just coming out of your wallet. But I love Pigeon Forge. Gatlinburg, love that area. But if you could go anywhere, where would you go on vacation? Sir, where would you go?
Out
West.
Colorado.
Yes, Colorado. I would retire there if I could. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. How much will it cost to go to Colorado? Depends on what you do, right? The reason I'm asking how much it's going to cost is because that needs to be a part of your plan. Like we all have hopes and dreams. What's it going to take to get there? If you aim at nothing, you hit it every time. Let's set goals. We want to go to Colorado and it's going to cost us $7,500. Boom, put it in your budget. Every month we're going to save X number of dollars so that by this month we can go to Colorado. Florida, it's going to cost X. Every month you put it in. Again, develop that plan, develop the discipline. And those things will happen. Okay? Then, obviously, put God first. Put God first. So here's what we say. When you get paid, you give, you save, and you live. And what I've told my kids is you give, you start. Again, we want to get there, but the tithe is 10%. And we teach giving off of the gross. We want to be blessed off the gross. If you give off the net, we're not going to debate that tonight. Okay? I get it. But 10% savings, live on 80%. And if you do that over time, you'll be able to give more and live on less because your overhead is decreased. So put God first. Again, nowhere in Scripture does it say to give of your last fruits. But it says multiple times to give of your first fruits. So that should be the first thing you do when you put your budget together. Giving. Okay? Now, I want to talk about this oxen principle. And I'm going to highlight, we've got some resources on the table out here in the back if you want to look at those afterwards. A lot of these are written by our owner, Joe Sangle, who actually was the creator of the I Was Broke, Now I'm Not curriculum. But there's a book he wrote called Oxen, okay? And the oxen principle is based off of Proverbs 14:4. And it says, where there are no oxen, the manger is empty. But with the strength of an ox comes an abundant harvest. How many of you have seen an ox or oxen work? Like, they can do way more than you can. Right? Have you ever tried to plow a field by hand by yourself? You won't get very far. You put a yoke on a couple of oxen and watch them do it, it's impressive. And they can accomplish together far more than you can by yourself. So let's unpack this principle a little bit. And this is specifically speaking to people who right now are winning in this area of personal finance. We all want to get here, okay? We all want to get here. There's two potential outcomes in that verse. There's an empty manger. How many of you want an empty manger? Good. Well done. None of you answered that. And the second potential outcome is an abundant harvest. How many of you want an abundant harvest? Okay. We're going to practice this together, okay? Because a lot of you think that I just assume I know the answer to what you want. How many of you want an empty manger? Now, raise your hand if you want an abundant harvest. Good. Everybody. Perfect. That's awesome. And you know what? That's what God wants for you. God wants you to experience an abundant harvest. And listen, like I said this morning, that's not always financial. Ava is our abundant harvest for that time. She, like I said, she cost me money. She found something. She was over at a friend's house today and was exposed to the virtual reality, the Oculus. So now, that's what I have to buy Ava. And you might say, you don't have to buy that for Ava. I told you, she is my favorite. So yes, I do. Now, it'd probably be her birthday or Christmas. But again, she's costing me money. So we all want an abundant harvest. Oxen make the difference. Oxen can help you go farther than you can go by yourself. Okay? So, here we go. Do we want this or this? We obviously want what's on the right. Now, what is a modern day ox? You got to be more specific. It's a John Deere tractor. We are brand specific at our organization. We don't get paid by them to say that, but Joe was raised on a farm in South Indiana, and it was a John Deere farm. They did John Deere, so we have to promote John Deere, okay? Of course, we want to go farther, faster, and oxen will help you get there, okay? Now, two ways to produce income: work and get paid, or don't work and don't get paid. The second way is to get paid whether or not you're working. How many of you have an investment account? Whether it's through your work, it's a Roth IRA that you put together yourself. How many of you know that is an oxen? All week, my investment account worked. Now, it may not have been a positive work, but it worked. Okay? So again, you could invest in company stocks. We don't endorse any of these. This is just simply, some examples of what you might invest in company stocks, okay? You also might invest in mutual funds or exchange traded funds. These are oxen. Your head is on the pillow sometimes taking a nap, and these oxen are working for you, okay? So those are some types of oxen. What are other types of oxen? Real estate. Real estate is still, we would contend, whether it's land, commercial, residential, it is still the best investment out there. It's going to provide the best return on investment right now. Now, I understand that interest rates are ridiculous. Here's what's crazy. 24 years ago, when my wife and I bought our first house, our interest rate was 7.9%, and we were fired up that it was so low. And now interest rates are at 7%, and the sky is falling, and we're all going to die. My parents' first interest rate in 1972 was 18.9%. Woo! They were pumped. Now, my interest rate right now is 2.85%. I will never refinance my house in the history of the world ever again. Ever. Unless something dramatic happens negatively, it won't get back down there. Will it get back down to 4 or 5%? Maybe. But we're on our way to 9. I just want you to beware. The Fed's going to raise it 2 more times. It's going to get to 9%. Just hold on. It's done this. For the history of its existence, it's done this. So don't freak out. But real estate is still the most effective oxen. And again, if you own rental properties, you own apartments, your own home is building equity for you, you're really not doing anything to affect that. You're just the owner. It's continuing to build that wealth for you. Maybe you're a small business owner. My brother is a small business owner. He has a business in Atlanta and a business in Seattle. He lives in Atlanta. So what does that mean? His employees in Seattle are his oxen. He's not there. They are working and making money for him. That's awesome. What about a franchise? Maybe you want to go into owning a franchise. And again, there's some examples, or here's some examples of what some franchises could be. Get fired up. I want to buy into Marriott. So do you see it? Do you understand where we're going here? How many of you have a talent? What's your talent?
I don't know about specifics, but I think we all have talent.
Give me one.
Fairly athletic.
Fairly athletic. That's awesome. You could market your talent. My daughter, so I was a worship pastor for a few years in Seattle when I first came into ministry. So I have an ear to be able to hear if people can actually carry a tune in a bucket or not. You have a very good worship team. You're very blessed. Now my daughter, and I know she's my daughter, my 26-year-old. My 9-year-old, not so much. She's my favorite, but my 26, but she can sing. That girl can throw down. She has a marketable talent. Now she doesn't believe it. And a lot of times that's what stands in our way is belief, right? We don't believe we're that good. Well, she has no idea. Don't tell her, okay? But I have a church that I'm working with in Brentwood, Tennessee. And there's a gentleman on their staff, on their music staff, that was a producer in Nashville for a lot of years. And so what I'm doing is buying her studio time for her to cut an EP, which is just a quick 3-song demo. Because I believe that she has a marketable talent. And guess what? We're going to sell it. I'm not going to make a penny off of it. Every bit of it's going to her. And it may sell 1 copy. Who cares? I want her to believe that she has a talent that could be an oxen. So she works. She could sell these EPs. She could cut more records. I just dated myself. I called them records. That's awesome. Although vinyl is making a raging comeback. So here's the question. You got oxen. If you want to experience a harvest in your life, you need to have oxen. Whether that's an investment or a series of investments, whether that's real estate, whether that's marketing a talent, whether that's owning a small business. And again, that is not an exhaustive list. Maybe you're an inventor. I got a friend that's an inventor. It would drive me nuts to live with this guy. But he's just constantly coming up with something, marketing it, getting patents, getting utility patents, doing all this stuff. And he's made a lot of money. And he makes a lot of money on inventions that he never even focuses on. He doesn't even touch. But he gets money because of the patents. So again, this isn't just budgeting 101. We're going to go through that. But this is also encouraging you to not stop. Don't stop when your budget is working. Always want to be taking the next step. And again, that book out there, it goes through a myriad of examples of what oxen are. So here is our overarching verse for tonight, Proverbs 21:5. The plans of the diligent lead to profit, as surely as haste leads to poverty. Coaches, don't answer this question. In the context of this conversation tonight, what is a diligent plan? Say it loud. Budget. Yep. So the plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty. Haste is just continuing to do what you're doing. If you're not winning, if your financial house isn't in order, you need to do something different than what you're doing. We all know the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So maybe for you tonight, it's to tweak your budget. Maybe you need to have someone else's eyes on your budget. Hey, maybe make this change here, that change there. Meeting with a financial coach does not mean you're losing. You may have your financial house in order and you're like, hey, I need somebody who is winning to look at this to see where I could win moving forward. That's what they're there for. They're also there for the people that are struggling. Man, I've tried this budget thing 100,000 times. And every time I get here, I hit a wall and I can't get through the wall. Well, sometimes it's letting someone else's eyes who are beyond that wall look at your budget and give you some practical steps to be able to get over or through that wall. None of the coaches are going to judge you. They've all been there. What we talked about yesterday is the role of a coach is to provide hope, encouragement, and the love of Jesus through this process. So I would encourage you to meet with a coach. Again, haste leads to poverty. Diligent planning leads to profit. I told you since 2011, Tammy and I, almost every single month, we put together a budget. God has blessed me and my family tremendously, and I do not say that to be arrogant at all. I say that to give all the glory to God because it was at 2011 that we made the choice to put God first in our finances. And I'd been a pastor since 1995. Get fired up about that long of life of disobedience. But when we made the change, I'm telling you, it changed our life. So, two things that yield profit. We talked about it. Plans and diligence. There must be a plan. How many of you have ever been to a wedding that didn't have a plan? I've done a lot of weddings in my day. I've been the officiant at a lot of weddings. And I do not miss the rehearsal. Ever. Because most of the time, and you may attest to this, you get to the rehearsal and there's no plan. And they've spent all this money for a wedding planner. And there's no plan. I don't want to do a wedding or be at a wedding that lasts much more than 25 to 30 minutes. Let's get in and get out. Amen? Amen. But you got to have a plan, right? How many of you want your doctor to have a plan? Like you're going into surgery on your left leg, and your doctor walks in the operating room, and he does this. Okay, we're here. This is left. I'm out. I'm like, there's a vapor trail behind me. I am gone. My son just had a mass taken off of his neck. And when we went into his pre-op appointment, they had written all over his neck, including the initials of the doctor so that the right doctor operated on his neck. They had a plan, and that really fired me up. We got to have a plan. We will plan for just about everything except our money. We will plan for just about everything except our money. And that's when it follows us home. That's when it follows us home. I go back to the wedding. You plan. My daughter got married on January 16th. I want to say it was 2021. It might have been 2022. I don't remember. I'm a terrible father. But I will tell you, The average wedding in the United States of America per USA Today at the end of 2021 was $27,000. I don't know whose wedding they measured, but that's ridiculously cheap. And I'm not a spender at that level. Now, it's my daughter. Dads of daughters, if they're going to get married, just know it's going to cost a little bit of money. But we spend a lot of money on all the things, on the flowers, on the photography, on the officiant, on the venue. Don't even get me started on the venue. I want to buy a wedding venue because I'll make millions of dollars. But one of the things that we required Sierra Nolan to do was premarital counseling. And we required them to have to discuss in premarital counseling, what is the plan for your life after your honeymoon? Because a lot of times couples don't plan for life after their honeymoon. They come home for their honeymoon and they think that's reality. That's the farthest thing from reality. And if you don't have a plan for your life, you're going to fail. And maybe you're sitting here tonight going, man, we've been trying and trying and trying, and it's been one calamity after another. Let me just encourage you, you can do this. You can do this. When Tammy and I started our budgeting process in 2011, we were $113,000 in debt. That was credit cards and cars. In almost 3 years, a little less than 3 years, we had paid off all of our debt except our house. Was it easy? Oh no. Did it come with speed bumps? Oh yeah. Like our hot water heater died and our air conditioner got jealous and it died. It's Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong. And let me tell you, the enemy doesn't want you to win. But stick with it. One step at a time. One foot in front of the other. And I'm telling you, you will win. This for us as an organization is a guiding verse. Luke 14:28-30. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Will he not first sit down and estimate the cost to see if he has enough money to complete it? For if he lays the foundation and is not able to finish it, everyone who sees it will ridicule him, saying, this fellow began to build and was not able to finish. It's the old measure twice and cut once principle. Your budget is that insulation. It's giving every dollar a name. Even if you have a leftover amount at the end of your budgeting, put it in savings, put it in an investment, put it towards a debt. Every dollar has to have a name, or it'll go one of two places: your stomach or clothes. Most of the times when we coach people, couples, the biggest disconnect in their budget is eating out. We have coached people who are putting 70% of their money towards eating out. That one little tweak, like what if we cut that in half? I mean, 35% is still crazy. But what if their first step was to cut that in half? It would change their trajectory. It would change their trajectory. So, why do you want to be financially successful? In your book, there's a square. And that question is asked, why do you want to be financially successful? I want you to take 2 minutes, and it's going to be quiet. We're not going to play music unless Corey's magical and has some music he can throw up in the speakers. But take 2 minutes and write down why you want to be financially successful. Now, here's the caveat. It doesn't have to be spiritual. Like, I'm going to give you permission. Be carnal. Like, be materialistic. It's okay. It's okay to want that vehicle. It's okay to want that vacation or that house. It's also okay to want to bless back. So why do you want to be financially successful? Write it down, and I am going to call on some of you to share. Go. Somebody at this table, why do you want to be financially successful?
I want to be a good role model for our son.
I want to be a good role model for our son. Does it get much better than that? Proverbs 13:22 says, a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. And if you read those verses before that, a lot of people will say, well, we're leaving a spiritual inheritance for our child. And that's awesome. That is awesome. My parents did that, and I am forever grateful. But that specific verse is talking about money. And the reason it says children's children is God knew it would be generational. For some of you leaving tonight, when you start this process moving forward, you're breaking a generational pattern that has been in existence for years in your life. That is awesome. Why do you want to be financially successful? He's going to hate me by the end of the night. No.
We're good. First one I had was daughter too. Generational.
Yeah,
And then just to give more in the community. There's another one.
to give more in the community. That's awesome. Somebody from this table, why do you want to be financially successful? Everybody looked at you.
I'm the one writing.
That's good.
Yes.
So why do you want to be financially successful?
To have less stress
To have less stress. Yeah,
and to be able to give for our children
Yeah.
as well.
that's good. That's good. You know, when your kids are born, it's an 18-year notice. They're probably going to want to go to college. And I'm telling you, that's not for everybody. But I will also tell you, because I have two that have gone through it, it isn't cheap. And it's not getting cheaper. Now, in some cases, it's the greatest ripoff on the face of the earth. Okay? We can talk about that later. I love dropping those bombs and just leaving them in the middle of the room, and you're like, what's this guy talking about? Somebody here, why do you want to be financially successful? Everybody looked at you.
Which one do they want me to say?
Yeah, anyone, all of them. Give me all three.
So I started with early retirement.
Yes.
I want to keep my wife
Winner.
debt-free.
Debt free. That's awesome. Put this one first. So it's good. Somebody from the, I want you to tell me why.
Picking on me.
I'm always picking on you. Why do you want to be financially successful?
Same thing with him. I want to be able to retire and enjoy life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah.
And be able to help my family out if needed.
That's good. That's good. We talked about that yesterday, helping family and friends. If you have family or friends that come and ask you for help and you can't help them, say no. But if you can help them, give them the money. Don't loan them the money. Okay? There you go. Thank you. I won't pick on you anymore, I promise. At least the next 10 minutes. Okay? Somebody here, why do you want to be financially successful?
Retire comfortably, be able to make a difference in the life of others,
Mm-hmm.
build our dream home, travel, sometimes with our kids and grandkids, and lastly, leave a legacy.
That's good. Where do you want to travel to?
Oh, you're asking wrong.
Okay, hold on. Stand by. Time out. Where do you want him to fund you to go to?
The Maldives or Greece?
The Maldives or Greece. Okay, so Tammy and I, not this summer, last summer, but the summer before, for our 25th wedding anniversary, we went and spent 3 days in Rome, and then we went on a 10-day Mediterranean cruise through Greece. You got to go. I want to go back right now. It is so fantastic. And make sure you go to Mykonos. Hands down favorite Mykonos. Hands down. But listen, be specific. Be specific. Somebody from this table, why do you want to be financially successful? Don't look at your pastor. He talks all the time.
Unlike Tim, I put my wife, take her stress away at first.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
And to know what it's like to live debt-free.
To know what it's like to live debt-free. Come on, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. You can do it. I know you can do it. Okay? If you're a husband in the room, I will tell you one of the most freeing moments for my wife was when I took over the finances. And a lot of you guys are in here going, this guy. needs to shut his mouth. Hold on. Timing is everything. Amen that I need to shut my mouth, or amen that your husband needs to do the finances. I'm okay with either. I'm not going to shut my mouth, but that was awesome. I think I know why you amened. She is so embarrassed right now. Dee, it's okay. That's fantastic. So which one was it? There you go. Sean, I am sorry. I had no idea the stress that she would go through just to write the mortgage payment. Like back when we wrote checks, just to write the mortgage check. I'm telling you, it was freeing for her. She was able to focus on what she felt she was called to do, which was to be a mom and not have the stress of the finances. Now, was I happy to do it? Not particularly. But I am so glad that I started doing it. And it probably was 2013, 2014. So we've been in this process for several years. And to this day, I do the finances. Again, we work together, so she knows all the details. She has access to everything. All of our stuff is combined. But that was one of the most freeing moments for her in this process. So, let's talk about budgeting, okay? We want to spend our money before the month begins. Chad, I'm really good at that. I got that nailed, okay? On paper. Spend your money on paper before the month begins. Now, there's a little formula that we want you to employ when you're budgeting, okay? And that formula is simply income minus outgo must equal exactly 0. Trademark. Nobody cares that it's trademarked, but it is. You have your income, you budget your outgo, and it needs to equal exactly 0. Now, you may be overspending your budget every month. When you go home tonight or tomorrow when you're working on your budget, make sure that you're not overspending. You might have to make some cuts in a few places. If you have money left over, it's got to go somewhere. Right, Mike and Beth? It's got to go somewhere. We had that conversation yesterday. Okay, so income minus outgo must equal exactly 0. Now, why do we want to save? So we give first. But why is it important to save? Number one, emergencies. Things happen. Now let me tell you something, okay? We recommend 3 months of expenses, ultimately. But your first step is 1 month of expenses in savings. 1 month. Not $1,000. I can tell you right now, not many emergencies will only cost you $1,000 anymore. I have a basement in my house, and our basement air conditioner just started to go out. It is a 2.5 ton, not a 5 ton, which is normal, but it's a smaller space. A 2.5 ton air conditioner is going to cost me almost $9,000. I might need some oxygen in just a second. But we've saved. I don't like to spend it, but I'm not going to put it on a credit card. It's not going to follow me home. Now, I'm going to have to build my savings back up. Okay? So emergencies. Okay, the second reason we save are known upcoming, non-monthly expenses. Like Christmas happens every 365 days, right? Kids' birthdays happen every 365 days. You know these are coming. Budget every month. Take the amount you're going to spend on that expense, divide it by 12, and save that every single month. So I have a brick and mortar bank that when I get paid, it's a direct deposit into my brick and mortar bank. I also have an online bank. Our online bank, we bank through Marcus by Goldman Sachs. There's Ally, there's Capital One 360, there's a multitude of them. Your online bank will actually get you between 4 and 5% interest right now. It's ridiculous. Your brick and mortar bank will get you 0.000000000 half a percent. Okay? So when we get paid, a certain amount of my paycheck gets automatically withdrawn and put into my online bank. And I've set up subcategories: Christmas, vacation, birthdays, homeowners association dues. That's a fun one. But I save an amount every month so that when it comes time to spend that money, I have it there to spend. So again, there's things you can do to set yourself up when these known upcoming non-monthly expenses happen. And the third, dreams. Every single person that just shared, every one of those dreams are within reach. Every single one. I had a dream that when my daughter got married, that my wedding gift to them would be a paid-for house. I didn't do it. She married an idiot. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. You guys, we're family, okay? He'll never listen to this. When I'm around him, I tell him he's the greatest thing in the world. So I lie. I'm just kidding. I got to be honest with you because I don't want you guys to think I'm a jerk. I love the kid. He treats my daughter like a queen. He is fantastic. He's a hard worker, but it's my son-in-law. All right? He married my daughter, who's perfect. Okay? But that was a dream. Now, maybe I'll be able to do it for Ava. I probably will because she's my favorite. And my 20s, or at the time, whenever she is, she's like, really? Like, that'll be the coup de grace. Did I tell you guys? I think I told the group yesterday. Like for Ava's 10th birthday, she turns 10 on October 29th. For her 10th birthday, or for my 26-year-old's 10th birthday, we were barely able to afford a birthday party with her friends. We're taking Ava to Disney World for a week. And my 26-year-old is like, are you kidding me? And we're like, no, we're not. It's awesome. We love it. You're welcome to join us. We're not going to pay for you, but your son, or our son-in-law can pay for that. So budget for your dreams. Okay, let's talk about budgeting. So when you go home and you access our wildly popular website, iwbnin.com, and you pull up the monthly budget, the first thing you're going to see at the top is income minus outgo. You're going to put in there your income. Okay, the first thing you're going to do is put in your income. In this example, it's $4,000. What happened to the color of the box?
Yellow.
Went from green to yellow. Yellow means caution. There's money left over in your budget that isn't assigned. Green is where you want it because that means income minus outgo equals exactly zero. The first thing you do with your budget is you define your current reality. Just start filling it in. Okay? So we're going to fill this one in. All right? So we're going to give first. We're going to give $450 on a $4,000 take-home pay. Why? We believe on tithing or giving on the gross. Won't argue that. That's just what we believe. And you see, as you do this, the total income minus outgo goes down. So $200 in an emergency fund, $1,150 for mortgage. So we're at $2,200 left. Whoops! All of a sudden, we've put all these things in. And we're overspent by $384.53. Can you live like that? Yes. Lots of people are. That's why you have credit card debt. Because you're filling the margin with credit cards. So don't freak out when it goes red, because a lot of times it does. Keep filling it in. Get everything in your budget that is your current reality. Then your next step is to start to minimize your spending. But don't take anything to completely zero. Don't take anything to completely zero. Give yourself some hope. Like, we are huge Dave Ramsey fans. You will never ever hear me diminish Dave Ramsey. He is fantastic. But we don't subscribe to that gazelle intensity. Rice and beans and rice and live now like no one else so you can live like no one else and no debt ever. Debt's terrible. Dave just built a $40 million facility and he financed it. Now it's paid off, Debt was a tool for him. Okay? But again, get everything in the budget and start pulling out spending. Okay? So we're going to do that. All right? So, what did we do? Our spending money at 200, we took that down to 100. So now we're overspent by 284.53. Now we're going to keep pulling things out. Okay? Our entertainment went from 74 to 40. Let's keep going. How about maybe groceries? Take $50 off our groceries. What about dining out? Let's cut that in half to 75. And again, this is just for this next month. Because what we have found is that when people budget appropriately, they find more money in their budget than they thought they had. So when you get on this budget and it starts to work and make sense, you actually start winning. You're actually able to start making an impact and growing closer towards that debt freedom. How old are you? 34. I don't know how much debt you have, but by the time you're 37 or sooner, if you're diligent, you can be completely debt-free. You're like 3 years. Oh my gosh. Like that. 3 years is like that. So again, we keep taking out. Okay? So children's clothing, $100. We'll take that to 30. We're $55.53 overspent. Okay? So now we're going to take our babysitting and cut that in half to 25. We're going to keep going in our emergency fund. We're going to take out of our emergency fund $30.53. And look what happened. We've balanced our budget. It equals exactly zero. Exactly zero. Is this hard? This isn't hard. Do you want to know what's hard? Doing it. You know what else is hard? Not fighting about it. Men, I love you, but I'm telling you, this is personal. And it can be emotional. Take a deep breath. There's power in working together. If the moment gets more than you can handle, it's okay to stand up and walk away and come back later. Don't argue about it. It's not worth it. Nothing will be accomplished. You won't win, guys. You know that. We've been wrong since we were married. My dad told me, he gave me one piece of advice before I got married. He said, Chad, I want you to know for the length of your marriage, you will always be in training. Yes? Yeah, always in training. I'm 27 years in. I'm still in training. Get fired up. So again, you can do this. Let's look at this verse. This is important. Romans 13:8. Let no debt remain outstanding except the continuing debt to love one another. So again, what does that assume? That assumes that you might be in debt. You might have debt. Let no debt remain out. Diligent. Have a plan to pay off the debt that you might have or that you might have to incur. Okay? The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. The average credit card interest rate right now in America is 22.9%. Get fired up about that. But let me tell you, and I told the team yesterday as we were walking through our training, everybody thinks that you can't call and talk to your lenders, the unsecured debt people. The people that scream the loudest and call you the worst names. They don't think you can call and actually negotiate your interest rates. You can. You can call and negotiate your interest rates on your credit cards. I negotiated one from about 23% down to 9%. And I didn't negotiate. I asked, hey, is there any room in the interest rate? Sure. 9%. Boom. Maybe you're in a position where you can transfer your balance that you're paying 20+% on to a 0% balance transfer credit card. Did he just say to open up a new credit card? Do you know what that's going to do to my credit? Your credit is already hammered. If you're in a position where you have significant debt, your credit is not where you want it to be. We did this at least 3 times in our journey, and it changed our trajectory. And within 6 months of us being debt-free of everything except our house, my credit was back to almost 800. Let's worry about the important things now. And what's the important thing when you are a servant to the lender? Get out of debt. Now, don't sin. That's not going to work. Okay? Maybe short term, but definitely not long term. Okay? So, the other thing we want you to do is we want you to cast a vision for you and your family. Okay? We don't want you always to be focused on the work. If you have debt, whether it's non-house, non-business, or maybe it's just your house, we have a tool on our website called the Debt Freedom Date Calculator. Is that you first calculate your debt freedom date without your house. This takes the debt snowball into consideration, which means you pay off your smallest balance first. Why wouldn't you pay off the one with the highest interest rate? Because we want you to experience a win sooner rather than later. And your highest interest rate might be your highest balance. It's going to take you forever. So let's put our lowest balance in there at $2,000 at $125 a month. That's the minimum payment. What if we found money by better budgeting and we could stack it on top of that and we could accelerate the payoff? We pay that off and we take that 125 or whatever that number is and stack it on the 87. So now we're starting to see this thing accelerate even faster. Okay? So, in 16 months, if you don't add anything to that 125, you've paid off that first credit or that first debt. Furniture. People finance their furniture. You might have done that. Okay? So when we keep going, if you notice on the first credit card, that 125 was added to the 87. So now our monthly payment is $212 on a $1,283 balance. But look, it was $2,675. Well, it's now $1,283 because we kept paying the minimum payment. So don't stop paying on the other stuff. Keep paying the minimum payments, but stack it on the smallest balance. Okay? So then, in 22 months, in 6 more months, we've now paid off the first 2 debts. And do you see it? Now, what was $116 on the third debt is $328, and there's only a balance of $375. So, in 1.2 months, the third one's paid off. Now, we're making some headway. Less than 2 years. And again, you can do it faster if you stack things on top of it, like a bonus, a tax refund, finding money by better budgeting, a gift. Okay? Then, in just another few months, we've paid the car off because look, what was a $395 payment is now a $723 payment. Okay? And in 25, just a little over 2 years, that's paid off. And then we're paying $927, the entire balance of the minimum payments on that $10,000. And in a little over 3 years, that debt is paid off. You can do this. I got a lot of blank stares right now. The plans of the diligent lead to profit, as surely as haste leads to poverty. If you're stuck, do something different. Maybe the debt snowball is something you've never tried. Try it. Talk to one of the coaches. They all are familiar with that philosophy or that strategy. They can help you with that. Listen, take your pride and throw it in the garbage. Well, I don't want someone looking at my business. Someone needs to look at your business. One of the greatest shooters in basketball history is Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk Nowitzki, until the day he retired, had this little German shooting coach. He'd show up to almost every game in practice in a three-piece suit, and he was Dirk's shooting coach. Peyton Manning, one of the greatest quarterbacks in history, even though he played at Tennessee, had a throwing coach until the day he retired. If those guys need a coach, why wouldn't you avail yourself to a coach for something that's as important as your personal finances? That can literally change the trajectory of your life and allow you to provide what you want to provide for your daughter. How old's your daughter? 15. Yeah. Yeah. Wouldn't it be awesome to just pay for her college or trade school or wherever she chooses to go? Get her a paid-for house as long as she doesn't marry a dork. Okay? You can do this. You can do this. We have some things on our website called spectaculars. They're payoff spectaculars. Beth, you love payoff spectaculars. Somebody actually cut up all their credit cards and wrote that, no new debt, and sent that to us when they were debt-free. That's awesome. Somebody was angry and they took a torch to their credit cards and burned them. That's fantastic. So we have these payoff spectaculars. There's a minivan payoff spectacular. There's 454 squares. Divide 454 into your debt, and it'll allow you to determine how much each square is worth. And when you pay that much off, color in a square. And when the entire thing is colored in, it's paid off. This is a great way for you to involve your children. Let them color it in. Okay? We have a truck payoff spectacular. And there it is. There's the car payoff spectacular colored in. There's a Jeep payoff spectacular. You see that? $30 per square times 510 squares, $15,300. Paid it off. Pay off your college degree. Pay off your TV. Pay off your credit cards. Pay off your llama. Somebody actually financed a llama and asked us to create a spectacular for them for a llama. If you have something that you need to pay off and you don't see it on our website, let us know and we'll create it. Okay? But if you finance an animal, I will find out where you live. And I will personally force you to be coached by me. Okay? And I won't make it fun. I'll make fun of you for that one. I'm just kidding. I won't. But again, these are all on our website. They're free. It makes it fun. What did I say earlier? Proverbs 13:22. A good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children, but a sinner's wealth is stored up for the righteous. That passage specifically is talking about money. There is an innate desire in every one of us that have children to leave something for our children. Even Warren Buffett, who has said multiple times, I'm not giving my children anything when I die. He's already given them their inheritance. Now, they're all very successful, and he gave them all $1 million. Which $1 million to him is like $10 to us. Maybe 100. But again, he left an inheritance. Now, I need you all to stay seated for this next example. Okay? This is the retirement nest egg calculator. This is a calculator that's on our website. If you choose to do this and you have not started saving for retirement, please make sure you're sitting down. Maybe have the oxygen tank next to you. Okay? I'm going to walk through this example and just kind of show you how it works. Okay? So how much do you want annually at retirement? Again, these numbers are going to be a little bit off for probably what you want, but let's say you want $40,000 annually at retirement. And again, you just fill in the blanks and it calculates everything for you. Okay? How many years until you retire? Let's say 10. So at a 4% annual inflation, the actual inflation right now, if you look on the government website, is 3%. Don't get me started. Okay? So we're taking 4% into consideration. At a 6%, so again, 4% inflation in 10 years, $59,201 is the equivalent to $40,000. So in order for you to live on $40,000 when you retire, you really need to have almost $60,000 because of inflation. Okay? So at a 6% annual return on investment, you will need to save $2,960,489 to have almost $60,000 a year at retirement. And then you can see how it calculates based on the better returns on investment that you have. Okay? So again, at a 14% annual return on investment, you'll need to save $592,098, and that will be the, again, you're not going to be living on $592,000. The actual return on investment will be larger than that, but that's going to get you to that $60,000 a year. If you have not started saving for retirement, the second thing you need to do after you do your budget is to start saving for retirement. Because if you're not doing anything, compound interest is working against you. But Chad, I'm 60. I don't care. Just do something. Just start and do something. Okay? Now, maybe you have 40 years until you retire. This is where it gets really depressing. Or can be very exciting if you're young and you start now planning for your retirement. In 40 years, $40,000 at a 4% annual inflation is equivalent to $192,041. Yeah, you want to cry, don't you? Okay? So you can see what you'll need to have saved in order to have that when you retire. Okay? Now let's talk about compound interest. Dishonest money dwindles away, but he who gathers money little by little makes it grow. Now, I'm the nerd that looks at my investment account every day. It's terrible. Don't do that. Okay? Especially recently. Don't do that. I can't help it. But again, it is a long-term strategy. Investing is a long-term strategy. The annual historical rate of return in the stock market is a little over 10%. That's been the performance over the last 45 years. Okay? So I'm going to walk through an example that shows us $100 a month, just $100 a month. Like, as you budget, as you clear headroom, you're able to maybe put more in. But we're going to just do $100 a month for 40 years. Just $100 a month at a 12% rate of return. Well, Chad, you're not going to get 12%. You're going to get 10. All right. So if you get 10, call me when you're 40 years from now, and we'll go to Tahiti and sip an umbrella drink together and cry in our drinks because you only have X number of dollars at retirement. 10% still going to be phenomenal. But let's just use 12%. How much do you think that blank will be? $100 a month for 40 years at 12% interest. How much do you think you'll have? Nobody wants to take a guess? $1,176,477. That's just $100 a month. Look at this. Look at the bottom. $1,176,477. You've saved $100 a month for 40 years. You've invested $48,000, and you have $1,176,477. Like, they've given you over $1.1 million. Like, that's real. Why wouldn't you do something? Well, Chad, I can't do 100. Do 50. If you work for a company who provides a company match in a 401k or a 403b or a simple IRA or a SEP IRA, whatever it is, please take advantage of that, because you're throwing free money away. Joe Sangle, the owner of our company, gives us a 100% match up to 3% of our income. If we invest 3%, he gives us 3 more percent. Why wouldn't I take that? It's free. So please, please understand this. There is no harvest if you don't invest. And an investment is not your brick and mortar savings account. Again, you got to have that. Like, your brick and mortar savings account can be for your emergency fund. And eventually your emergency fund needs to be 3 months of expenses. Okay? 3 months of expenses. The great theologian Will Rogers says, even if you're on the right track, you'll get run over if you just sit there. When you leave here tonight, there needs to be a definitive next step. I don't know what it is for you. You may not know what it is for you. But I go back to this morning and the widow in the story. Your situation might be desperate. What's the first thing we do? We seek God. God, what is our next step? He knows what it is. And then what do? What He says. We do what He says. Now you may be sitting here tonight going, oh buddy, I know my next 7 steps. Awesome. Do step 1 first. Don't go to step 6. Do step 1. Make this attainable for you. Okay? Now, we have this thing, Dave Ramsey has baby steps. We have this thing called the I was broke, now I'm not ladder. So somewhere in your book, there should be a ladder. Okay? And there's 9 rungs on that ladder. The first rung is set goals. Set goals. How many of you repeatedly, maybe it's year after year or every 6 months, but you have it as a pattern in your life to set goals, to aim at something? Awesome. Awesome. The rest of you need to do that. That's where you start. I said it earlier. If you aim at nothing, you hit it every time. And some of you set goals tonight. Why do you want to be financially successful? Those are your goals. Can somebody hand me one of those books real quick? Are these pre-filled in for you guys? Okay.
The ladders?
Yeah. It is pre-filled in? Okay, so they cheated and had you guys... Oh, okay, I got it. Okay, so the first thing, the second rung, again, we talked about it, is to save money, 1 month of expenses. The third rung is invest. $100 a month or your company match, whichever is greater. I can't do $100 a month and I don't have a company match. Do 50. Do something. Do something. And again, I don't know what the best investment vehicle is for you in your situation, but talk to somebody. Go talk to a financial planner. Go talk to an investment house. They'll help you figure that out. For your age and stage of life, for your family situation, what's best for you. Tax-advantaged investments. Not investments that are going to make that company a bunch of money, but that are tax-advantaged for you. Okay? Rung 4 is to pay off all non-house, non-business debt. That's your credit cards, your cars, your boat, your ATVs, your furniture, your iPad, your TV, your llama. Okay? Pay it off. This is the rung you'll spend the longest amount of time on usually, but it's also the rung that will give you the biggest raise you've ever experienced in your life if you have debt. The average American, when they finish rung 4, frees up over $1,200 a month in payments. Go to your boss tomorrow and ask them for a $1,200 a month raise. Don't do that. Because they probably won't, well, they definitely won't give it to you. Okay? Then you get to rung 5. 3 months of expenses. 3 months. Now, when you're looking at this ladder, okay, let's say you're at rung 5 and you build your savings to 3 months of expenses and all of a sudden something breaks. And it depletes your savings. When you've paid cash for that emergency, you're going to go back down to rung 2. And you're going to get that 1 month of expenses. Then you're going to go to rung 5. And you're going to get that 3 months built back up. And then you're going to go to rung 6. Place 15% of your gross income into tax-advantaged investments. Don't ask me to recommend specific investments because I can't. Okay, I can't even really tell you what I invest in. You need to find a professional that's licensed in your state, in the state you live in. Okay? They can help you with that. But again, tax-advantaged investments. Rung 7, pay off your house, and if it makes sense for you, pay off any business debt you might have. And this is where it starts to get really fun, because rung 8 is to place 30% of your income. So if you place 30%, coaches, don't answer this. If you place 30% of your gross income into tax-advantaged investments, what percentage are you living on? 60. Somebody said it. Great job. Why 60? Because you're giving. And when you get to rung 8, let me tell you, 60% even provides surplus. You don't have any debt. You're winning. And then rung number 9, live a fully funded life. That's what we all want. It's going to take some of us longer to get there than others. But what is the key to this being successful? Take your next step. What did I tell you this morning? God honors movement. God honors movement. It's really important. I'm going to open it up for questions here in a little bit. I want to talk about some next steps, and I do want to tell you that Sean's going to be out at a table out here. We don't push a lot of resources, and we don't try to make a whole bunch of money off of you, but sometimes there are resources that are helpful to kind of get you on the right track. If you're in kind of that budgeting 101 or 201 scenario, there's a book out there called I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. And again, that's written by our owner, Joe Sangl, and that explains his journey and the steps that he took to become financially free. There's also a workbook that accompanies that study or that book. Those go together. You don't have to buy both of them, but if you buy the workbook, you need to buy the book. But if you buy the book, you don't have to buy the workbook. Okay? If you're winning, hey, we're beyond the budgeting phase, like needing to budget. We do budget and it works for us, but man, how are we going to take it to the next level? There's the book out there and the audio book called Oxen. And again, it's based on that Proverbs 14:4, where there are no oxen, the manger is empty, but with the strength of an ox comes an abundant harvest. There's also a book out there called 20/20 Money. Those two books are for people, for families who are winning. Okay? I will tell you, I wish they taught this more in school. Like, I wish to everything that I graduated high school with some of these basic principles. Well, we wrote a book out there. It's called What Everyone Should Know About Money Before They Enter the Real World. And it's for high schoolers and young college-age kids. And that's out there on the table. And so those resources are available. Sean will take care of you afterwards if you want to purchase any of that. But I want to finish just talking about some next steps. Okay? So this is a list of next steps. That number 1 says tithe. Okay? What we talked about at the beginning, my encouragement to you is if you're not tithing, start giving. Okay, if you're not doing anything, for us to expect you to go from 0 to 10% overnight, that is completely unrealistic in most cases. Do something. Let the tithe be your goal as kind of a first step. I want to get there. Don't stop there, because the real blessing for you comes when you're able to be more generous than that. Okay? The second step is to prepare a written spending plan, a budget. Maybe for you is to move high interest debt to zero and low interest credit cards. Joe has a blog, joesangle.com, and on his blog he actually every quarter posts the best cards for that scenario. Okay? Whoops. Calculate your debt freedom date. Cast vision for you and your family. Maybe it's just you and your spouse. Maybe it's just you. Maybe it's you, your spouse, and your kids. And understand that whatever that date is that is calculated, with proper budgeting and diligence, you can probably beat that by about 6 months on average. Okay? So debt freedom date calculation. Again, if you want to know how much you need at retirement, calculate your retirement nest egg. Calculate the monthly investment needed to be able to retire. And then we want you to participate in the group study. When is the group study starting?
Depends on how much interest we have.
Yep. So,
If there's interest, we'll start it right.
yep. So we have a 6-week small group study that dives deeper into these principles to help them make a discipline in your life. If you want to be a part of that, let Pastor Ryan know. Or you had access to that QR code this morning. If you've accessed that and signed up, awesome. Okay? But let Pastor Ryan know if you want to be a part of that, or any of the pastors on staff. If you want coaching, if you want to have somebody look at your budget to make sure that you're winning at every level. If you're in here and you were at the coaching training, can you stand up? Doug, please stand. Doug, please stand. Doug was not a rule follower growing up. These right now are the coaches. These are people who are winning in this area. And they're not going to brag about it. They desire for you to win in this area as well. So if you ask for coaching, you'll be paired up with one of these people. Okay, you guys can have a seat. Thank you. But again, you need to determine your next step. Throw pride away. Throw pride away. And again, you can access our free resources on the website. We do have an app. If you search "I was broke, now I'm not" on the App Store, Google Play, it'll come up. And then we actually have this online community called Fully Funded Life. And it is a fee-based online community. If you click that QR code, it'll take you to an explanation of that. There's also some pamphlets on the table that will show you. And again, there's challenges, there's modules, there's coaching, it's all kinds of stuff, very interactive online. If you need something like that, you have access to that. You can click that QR code and figure out what that is. Okay? So, what questions do you have for me before we wrap? No question off the table.
What do you think is the hardest part about getting started at the very beginning of the process? Like the biggest barrier that you've seen, like in your experience, people overcome?
Seeing your budget go to red and keeping going. Like, it's going to happen. For a lot of you, it's going to happen. When you have somehow figured out your cash flow for it to work for you monthly. But when you put your budget on paper, you're overspending your income. I've had people say, you know what, our goal is that when I get paid in the middle of the month, we have $1,000 in our checking account so that we can bridge the gap. Because if we didn't, we know we wouldn't be able to pay for what's upcoming on the 15th. Well, that's not winning. All right? That's a shell game. And eventually, that's going to run out. Put everything in the budget. Define your reality. And start pulling money out so that you can actually begin creating margin in your life. And when you do that, watch your stress level go down exponentially. Watch your ability to be creative and look for opportunities to bless others go up exponentially. I don't sit here today and worry about my debt because I don't have any. But what I do get the opportunity to do is to think about, hey, what can I do to bless others? How can I be generous? Listen, you guys, we don't stack cash as Christians so that we can have a stack of cash. We stack it to give it away. Why? Because that's what Jesus did and he would do. And we want to be like Jesus. So I would say it's getting past that barrier of, oh no, it's red. We're all going to die. Let's just stop right now, pack it in, and hope for the best. Nope, keep going, keep taking those steps, pull things out, don't take anything to zero, and live on that new budget, and you'll win. Yes?
What if you're like a small business and you're always the last one to get paid, or like don't even get paid? Like,
Yep.
How would you like even, I don't even know where to start as far as the budget, like income budget?
Yep. So, do you budget? So, and again, I'm not asking you that to embarrass you or to single you out in any way. I appreciate your honesty and your willingness to ask the question. But it's the same for a small business. It's the same for a big business. Start with a budget. Every dollar needs to have a name. You will discover, I'm not going to say mismanagement or misappropriation in any way, but you're going to discover, wow, we can save here to provide margin over here so that maybe you can get paid more than you are now or even something. So it's the same principle for a small business owner. Start with a budget. Okay? Now, as a business owner, you might have to make some very hard decisions. Okay? Whether that's laying somebody off, or cutting pay, or getting another job to provide additional income. Again, only you will know that when you put that budget together and live on it for a couple of months. But I'd take this budget form and just act as if your business is a family and just budget your business. Okay? Other questions? You guys, I sit up here and I say these things. What's your name? MJ. Met you this morning. I say this to MJ and it sounds like, oh, it's easy. It's not easy. It sometimes comes with some pain. But I'm telling you, the end result is freedom. It's surplus. It really is. And you can look throughout your life, you can look throughout your journey and go, wow, that was hard, but we made the right decision because it allowed us to accomplish and achieve this. And it just starts to snowball and stack on top of each other when you start making those right decisions. But please understand, in no way, shape, or form am I sitting up here saying this is easy. Okay? But you can do this. It's like my wife says to me several times a month. We can do hard things, Chad. We can do hard things. Yes, she does say that to me. Because I don't like to do hard things. Other questions?
Chad, I have a comment, not a question.
Wow, he gets a microphone. That's amazing.
When you're the pastor, you get the mic.
That's right. I was like, Lord?
So I don't normally do this, but I'm going to put somebody on the spot. I don't normally ask people to say something without some preparation, but I'm wondering if Mike and Beth Perry would be willing to share a little bit of their story and their testimony. You guys shared it yesterday. Would you be willing to come up and just share where you were at when you first started in our church? What's happened? Beth is one of our financial coaches, and you're going to understand why after you hear her story.
Okay, where do I start?
You go ahead, I'll chime in.
So, back when the church started, we would have had a daughter, and then I would have just had Kenton. So Kenton is the same age as the church. The church is almost 7, Kenton's almost 7. And then Pastor Ryan had Financial Peace University in his living room at the house that they were renting at the time. And I was begging him, Michael, we need to go. And he's like, why are we going to spend $100?
She's telling me we need to spend $100 on this book so we can learn how to save some money. And I was like, I don't know. It seems a little, but we did, I'm like, if you really want to, we'll do it. And she's like, yeah, I really want to. She didn't think, she's like, yeah, definitely, let's go. So we did.
And we were at the stage in life that, like, we had student loans. We both had car payments, I believe. We were renting. No, we had our house. But we weren't ever in the negative, but we never saw any positive. We weren't ever saving any extra. We weren't ever seeing any financial gains. I mean, we were never in crazy debt. We never did Blue Christmas on a credit card. Like, we saved up for those things, but we wanted to see more gains. And so that's why we took the class. And so we took the class, and I'm super organized and kind of crazy with my list making. And so we started Dave Ramsey's Debt Snowball, and we just started chunking off each one. So if you don't know anything about the Debt Snowball, you take your smallest debt, even though it seems crazy. So say you have a $25 credit card, and once you pay that off, then you take that $25 and you put it on the next smallest. And it's like a snowball rolling down a hill. Your payment on the next one gets bigger and bigger, and you keep paying more on each one.
And I think that's important when you think about that, because when we talk about like the freedom that you mentioned feeling, that's not like 3 years down the road or 10 years down the road. That's as soon as you pay off that first small debt, you feel that flow, that increased cash flow now that you have to use as a tool to apply now to this debt, which just pays off faster and faster. And you have this plan for whatever, how many years it is that you're looking at to pay off this debt. But it seems like you always find extra money in your budget. Like when you have like that third paycheck on the month and now suddenly have an extra $2,000, what do I do with it? You have a plan, you have a priority. It's going to this debt. Boom, pay it off, boom, pay it off. And just crossing those off, best feeling ever. But it's crazy awesome. I loved it.
So I don't remember how long it took, but we are now down to only having a mortgage. We've sold our house and bought a different house, but we are only down to our mortgage now. We've taught Financial Peace twice now. And then decided to go ahead and go on with coaching too, because it's just something we feel like it's helped our kids. Like I told him in the class yesterday, our son has wanted an electric scooter. We live in a neighborhood, all the kids have an electric scooter, and he was mad that he didn't have an electric scooter. But I don't like to give the kids much, because I just feel like the house is already full of things. And I said, buddy, if you want an electric scooter, you have to earn the electric scooter. So he worked for his half of the electric scooter. We paid for the other half.
Neighbors stopped and commented.
Because he was pulling weeds. He was pulling buckets of weeds for money. And anyway, that boy rides in the neighborhood in this electric scooter, and his smile, ear to ear, and he tells everybody, I worked for this. I raised $41, and I gave it to my parents, and I got to open up this box and plug it in, and he is so happy for it.
Awesome.
And so we're just kind of teaching these principles to our kids in small chunks, too, to help them down the road, because I mean, both of us came from backgrounds of neither one of our parents teaching us any of these things. So we both walked into a marriage of little to no financial responsibility. So it was really life-changing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. That's fantastic. And hey, listen, you guys are great parents. Great parents. Those are important lessons for our kids to learn. The whole work and get paid. That's weird. That's important. So, awesome. Well, hey, I want to pray for you guys. Yeah, go ahead.
How did you get past say you had the air conditioner come up and you had to take out $9,000 out of your, I mean, that's devastating. How do you, to think that you're going to take that out and you worked so hard to get up there, and then just like a roller coaster. I mean, it's just, because you know it's going to be another time, you save up, and then something else happens. And it's just like back and forth. So how do you get past that feeling, just to stick with that?
So your perspective has to change. So let me be honest. I don't like it. I don't like that my air conditioner is going out. I don't like that it's going to be almost $9,000. But what I love is that I have the cash to pay for it, and it's not going to follow me home. Now, am I going to have to build my savings back up? Absolutely, because what's going to happen? I don't know, but something else is going to happen. Those are just the joys of home ownership, right? So it's perspective. It's being thankful that God has given us the resources to be able to provide the cash to pay for it, so we don't have to finance it and pay more than what it costs. I don't like it. I don't get excited about it, but I'm thankful and grateful that I have it to be able to pay. And then I just go back to that rung 2 and rung 5. I build my margin back up to 3 months of expenses or more, so that when the next one happens, I'm there. I'm ready. It's perspective. And again, easy to say, hard to practice, but it's important. Yeah.
I just have a question, maybe something you can or can't answer. I'm kind of in this thing where my wife and I have kind of been doing the snowball effect.
Yeah.
I've heard Dave Ramsey. Yeah, I don't never listen to any of his stuff, but I know you know what he's about.
Yeah.
During COVID, I have a small business in town, and when all this, COVID come about and all these things happened, the banks were dropping interest rates. I have a couple of small business loans at 0%. I've been dwindling about paying them off because they're at 0%. I mean, yes, I have a chunk of debt, but it's not costing me any more money if I'm making monthly payment. What would your advice be if anybody else in the room, including myself, obviously, what would your advice be? Take that money out, pay it, or because it's 0% and it's not accumulating additional debt, continue on that if that's something.
If it's not hurting you, like if it's not causing you to not fund something else, if you're able to just make those payments and it not hurt your business, that's free money. I mean, that's when we talk about business debt being a tool, that's what we're talking about. And Doug, he's a business owner, and we were having that conversation yesterday. I mean, sometimes it doesn't make sense as a business owner to pay off all of your debt. Sometimes that can be used for different reasons, okay? So if it's not strapping you to make those payments, if it's not allowing you to have to take money from somewhere else to put it towards these payments, I wouldn't be really quick to pay that off. Are these lines of credit, or are they
They're actual loans on
loans?
leases.
Yeah.
But it's not a lot of money. We're talking, it's not a lot, it's a few thousand.
Sure.
It's not, I'm glad that you told me that because I feel like I maybe have calmed my decision down.
Well, and again,
In case there's an emergency.
yeah.
It's going to cost me the same one way or the other, and it doesn't hurt me to pay it.
Yeah.
Maybe I continue.
I had a car note for a while at 0.99%. And we got to a point where we could pay it off, but there were some other things we wanted to do as a family. And one of those was to fund my daughter's college savings plan. And it was like, okay, do we do that or do we pay off this car? Well, it was at 0.99%. And I actually went to Joe, the owner of our company, and I said, what would you do? And he said, is that debt debilitating? I mean, are you struggling to make that? No, we're not. And we're seeing principal go down every month. And so we ended up eventually taking a chunk and paying it off, but it wasn't near as accelerated so that we could fund her 529 college savings plan. So again, it all depends on the scenario you're in, but if you've got 0%, buddy, way to go. That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Other questions? I'll be out back by the table. If you want to chat about anything, feel free. If you have any questions, let me know. I'd love to pray for you guys. And then anything, Pastor Ryan, that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I just want to touch base real quick on groups and coaches. Could I do that real fast?
Yeah,
And then
not
you can pray for
fast.
us?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the goal of this is really to get us started as a whole church on a financially healthy track. This isn't just about money. This is about all of your life. I mean, this sets you free in so many ways in your life. When you don't have debilitating stress because of money, it helps your family. It helps you to thrive. It helps you to trust God more. It helps you to take risks. It helps you to give. There's so many things that get blessed when you do this. So our approach here was not just to run a series and also not even just have this seminar tonight. We actually want to have a more extended way to help our church become a very financially healthy place for people. So we're going to have a group available if anybody wants it, and some coaches. Let me talk about the group first. If there is interest in a 6-week small group, we will start one. I'm just trying to figure out if there's interest, okay? So if we had a 6-week small group available, who would be interested in jumping in at starting next week for 6 weeks? Serious question. Would anybody want to get in? It would depend on what day. So if we could find a common day, just raise your hand nice and high if you want to be in it. If you don't, it's okay. But I see 2, 3. Anybody else? Okay, so for those of you who raise your hand, come up afterwards, and we'll find a common day to use their curriculum for a 6-week group so you guys can all get started in a group together, okay? Now, what we did yesterday is Chad trained a whole group of coaches. So we've got coaches available. And my goal with the coaching, again, is not just something we do just this one time. I'd like to have an ongoing financial coaching ministry, because people are going to come through our doors, and a very common story of people walking in is they're going to have major financial stress and need help. So we're starting something that I'm hoping is going to go a lot longer term and be available to people. So we have a group of coaches. I'm not going to make you raise your hand for a coach, but Beth Perry is going to be our coaching administrator. She's going to help me to keep this organized, because that's her skill set more than it's my skill set, keeping the details in order, okay? So I'm going to give a few of you signed up when you registered for tonight, you said, I would like a coach. I'm going to give if you did that on the online registration, I'm going to give your name to Beth. If you did not do that, or if you're not sure if your name got put in the system, have a conversation with Beth. Go tell her. And what we're going to do is get organized, and Injoy has a great plan on how we do this. It's a 4 coaching session strategy where a coach sits down with you and everything is in confidence. The information is not shared all over the place, okay? They walk through a budget with you. They help you figure out where to find some savings, how to maybe reallocate some dollars. And it's a 4-meeting strategy to help you to get set on a course that over the next several years of your life can change your life. So don't, again, he said just be humble. Throw your pride out the window. There's no embarrassment or shame in saying, I'd like somebody to look at my budget with me. Okay, there's no shame in that at all. So don't let that stand in the way. Just talk to Beth and say, I'd like to get connected to a coach. And what we're probably going to do is set up a lot of the coaching sessions will probably happen on Sunday mornings. They might happen before church starts or after church is over, or even during one of the services. We'll utilize the office because we're all coming in on Sundays anyway. So that way it's not a battle to try to figure out what night of the week to make it happen. And we'll connect you with somebody and help you get on the right financial course. Okay? So this is much bigger than what we're just doing tonight. We want to take this beyond here. Y'all got it? Okay. All right.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's pray. God, we're grateful for tonight. I'm grateful for everyone in this room taking this step. Sometimes this could even be the hardest step. I want to go sit and listen to some dude yap about finances. And I'm grateful that these people have walked through the door and sat in the chairs and have taken this first step. And I don't know what their next step is. They may not even know, but you do. And so I pray that you give them the courage to seek you as to what their next step might be. And if they know what their next step is, the courage to actually take that step and to be diligent in executing a plan, because we know, as it says in Proverbs, that leads to profit. And if it's meeting with a coach, allow that to happen and allow that connection to be strong. And Father, we pray for story after story after story of how you have worked in each one of these families' lives to literally provide miracles on their behalf. We know that's what you do. We know that you're a God who does that. And we know you are Jehovah Jireh, who is our provider. And so, Father, I ask for provision for each one in here tonight, for wherever they are, for them to go to the next level. God, we love you, and we're so grateful for your love for each one of us. It's in Jesus' name that I pray. Amen.